Let's get started on something that we just don't talk about a lot, and that's a tin ceiling. I've actually only done one real tin ceiling, but I've done numerous faux tin ceilings. My go-to place for a faux tin ceiling material is Menards. They got a nice section and display with plenty of literature, parts and pieces, different colors, textures, sheens. But there's even more available online if you just go to their websites on their literature. I actually had to go through this particular project and pick out a really good match. The ceiling was sagging, so somebody went through with these bugle head screws and they tried to reattach it to the ceiling grid. But I found that these panhead screws work awesome. And that's really the best application. You have to go through and put a screw in each one of the corners, and that flattens it out. Now, this project here was a small bathroom, same type of tile, and you know what? It just solves so many problems. Now, with a real tin ceiling like this, you actually run copper nails into a plywood substrate, and that's kind of a pain. But here, this is just a little bathroom, finished it up with crown molding, and you just glue it up. And it just adheres right to the old ceiling tiles. What I do first is I go through and I just refasten all of the tiles to their little grid system above, and then I lay everything out. I find out where all the light fixtures are in the ceiling, and I put a corresponding little dot with my plumb laser wherever the light fixtures were, dead center. I try to be as accurate as possible. That way, when everything's covered up with the new ceiling, I know where it is. If you order directly from the manufacturer, they'll actually send you samples. And when you get your order, they'll actually send you some literature and some instructions on glue patterns and that sort of thing. On this particular project, I used 2 different lasers just to keep everything nice and perpendicular. I knew exactly where it was going to start and stop, and I wanted everything to end up at a certain spot. So I took some time and I thought it out real well. I use my adhesive. This is a glue up application. It's not a drop-in. It's not like an acoustical ceiling. So I follow in their instructions and their glue pattern. All you got to do is stick it to the ceiling. About an hour after each panel is installed, you just repress it in and it's done. You have a couple of minutes of workability, not like 2 or 3, but probably 5 or 10. And if you get off of your line a little bit, you can absolutely adjust it, repress it in real good, and go with your laser line or however you want to line things up. And it's pretty straightforward. 2 takeaways on this particular project I was on. You're going to want to order a few more panels more than what you think. They told me to send a drawing, and I did, and they sent me what they thought was going to be my yield for material, but they were short. So don't trust anybody. The second takeaway is pay attention to your pattern. In this case, when you walk into the kitchen sink area, you can't see the seams, but there was 2 directions you could walk in the dining room. So you're going to see seams from one direction or the other. There was no getting away from it. So choose wisely on where you start. And this particular design and the sheen, it allowed me to kind of camouflage some of the more unsightly seams. And I did that with white caulk. And it was a pretty darn good match.